I'm going to start this video with a fresh React app. If you need help with this, check out the video titled Creating a React App with Feet. Firstly, we'll start off by creating a component for our counter. In React, components are the building blocks of your user interface, and this is where we'll define the logic and design for our counter. It's best practice to create components separately and import them into the parent app to keep the code modular and reusable. Let's start by creating a components folder. Inside this, we'll add a file for the counter component and call it counter.jsx. With the basic structure of the component complete, we can now import it into our main app file. Make sure when you do add the counter, it imports in the top line as shown. Now that's done, we can close the app.jsx file. And to see our counter in action, let's run the development server. We can do this using npm run dev. This starts the development server, allowing us to preview the app locally in our browser. Now let's create the UI structure. We'll use a basic HTML-like syntax inside the return statement. This syntax is called JSX, and it allows us to write HTML within JavaScript. This is a key feature of React. Our component will now include 4 elements: a div, which acts as the parent container, holding all of the other elements, an h1 tag, which displays the title, a p tag, showing the current value of the counter, and a button, which will allow us to increment the count. I'll quickly add some inline styling now to center the content. This isn't necessary at the moment, but I'm just doing it to make it a little neater. As you can see in the browser, the UI, or the front end, is now complete. You can click the button, but nothing happens yet. This is because we haven't added any functionality yet. So let's add some functionality. We'll start this by firstly creating a new state variable to hold the current value of the counter. When setting up a state, don't forget to import the useState hook at the top. We can now initialize this state with the count of 0. This will be the starting value of our counter. Next, we need to define a function to increment this value. I'm going to call this function incrementCount, and this will use the setCount function inside the useState hook to increase the count. This will happen one time every time the function is called. This can be written as either a regular function or an arrow function. We can now embed the dynamic count value in the UI using curly braces in JSX. This is how you display dynamic data in React. Let's check out the live preview in the browser. As you can see, when we change the state to a different number, we can see this update in the live browser. We can also change this to a string. By the moment, we're going to stick with the number so that we can use it for the counter. Now I'll just quickly clean up the code formatting a little bit so we can proceed with adding the button functionality. For the button, we can add an onClick event to it, which will trigger the incrementCount function. Now that this is set up, every time the button is clicked, the incrementCount function will run. In turn, this will use the setCount function in the useState to update the count from the current count to the current count plus 1. So, as a quick recap, the useState hook lets us manage the state in functional components. We updated the count state using the functional update pattern to ensure React uses the most recent state value. The onClick event handler lets us respond to user actions. These are essential concepts for React development. And that's it. You've successfully built a functional counter app in React. This is an excellent starting point for learning React. Feel free to expand on this project by adding a reset button or a button to decrease the count. If you found this tutorial helpful, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching. See you next time.